Bum. Excuse me. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 da 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 dum bum bum ba da 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 bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba da da dum bum 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 ba da da. Hi, howdy, friends. Howdy, Facebook Livers, and howdy, Mighties. Wonderful to see everyone. So, hey, you're looking good. Look at all these names. I love to see you all. There we go. Mary and Maria and Christine and from Chico. Chico's a great place. And Tampa and Albuquerque, and it's wonderful to see everyone. Let's see if I can reload Facebook so that I can see where people are coming from there. Good evening, everyone. Here we are. Now we're going. Yes, now we're going. So, hi. For those of you who know me, and I'm Joette Calabrese, and if you don't know me, then let me just change this. Okay. I've been teaching homeopathy for 34 years, something like that. And I've been in practice for less than that, but a long time. And I'm here to teach you because I love doing that. Love teaching homeopathy. We're doing our Materia Medica. We're getting towards the end of the Materia Medica, folks. I mean, we're already in the V's, V for victory. And this is a really important medicine that we're going to be studying tonight. So for those of you who have my Materia Medica, which looks like this, then by all means, go ahead and get it out. If not, then you can purchase it through my website. If you don't have it, no problem. You can still study and write in the margins of any Materia Medica for that matter. Now I've got a cut tonight, and I'm in a different place, which is kind of fun for my husband and me and my children. We've left Florida. We drove back north. We're with our children for Thanksgiving now through Thanksgiving and Christmas and a shower coming up and very exciting things happening in my life right now. And it's wonderful to be here. Colder weather. I don't mind. There's snow and wet and the leaves it was a beautiful drive from Florida. Boy, I'll tell you, Virginia, West Virginia, gorgeous, gorgeous areas. Pennsylvania was beautiful. New York State was beautiful. Really, we live in such a great country. For those of you who are Americans, I know that you would appreciate that. And so let's talk about a medicine that was, I would consider a lifesaver for me when I was in Calcutta. Now, I'm not going to take any credit for having thought of this medicine at that time. I was too sick to even think of anything. And just in case you have not noticed, when we're sick, our brains turn to mush. At least mine does. I can't even think straight. And so when I cut myself tonight, it was a brand new knife. I just bought it not too long ago, and I was cutting up garlic, of course, and I sliced right into my finger. And we're in a place where I didn't have any bandages, so we're using a paper towel. And when it happened, it was, that feeling like something has just gone through your whole system. You can feel it sometimes in the back of your legs. Now, some folks might ask me, so what did you use? What homeopathic medicine? And I didn't. There was no need to use anything. It was bleeding heavily. Really bleeding. This is the fourth wrapping that I've had on this tonight. And the other two were just too soaked to be able to present myself properly. So I had to freshen it up, and my husband did it, and he tended to it when I cut it. And he said, "Oh, you're acting like a baby," and I do act like a baby. When you're, I said, "Oh my God, look what I did! Oh no!" And the blood was everywhere. Anyway, It's fine now, no pain. If I had pain, still had pain, I would use probably Hypericum. It was a clean cut, so I could also have used Staphysagria. And if whatever I use, I would use it in a 200 potency, most likely. So I might use, Hypericum if the pain was extraordinary or long lasting. And I would use that one at 200 and Staphysagria. Now I wouldn't just use one dose, I'd use a couple of doses until it all calmed down. Right? Yes, cayenne pepper will help stop bleeding immediately. You're absolutely right, April. You're absolutely right. And I actually put cayenne pepper in my tea, which I'm having tonight, and in my coffee. I put it in every day. I like the heat. I like the spiciness of it, and I also like what it does for cardiological concerns. It's all the way around, and infections, etc., etc. Yeah, it is. It is. You're absolutely right about that. It's all right though. Calendula topically, yes, I could have used calendula. It just wasn't that important. I wanted it to bleed. I wanted it to bleed a good amount because I didn't know how clean the knife was, and that helps cleanse it. All righty. So we got people from Ontario and hello from Mumbai. Hi, nice to see you here. And let's see, British Columbia. And I'm looking at Facebook Live, folks. Phosphorus. Phosphorus could have helped. Absolutely. There are a lot of medicines that could have helped. Even arnica could have helped. Um, all writing Ohio and wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so the medicine we are going to talk about tonight, the one you've all been waiting for. This is one of the best medicines ever. So keep your notes clean about this, keep it organized. This could be a lifesaver. The remedy is Veratrum, Veratrum, one word, Veratrum, just the way it sounds, very phonetic. Veratrum, and the second word is album, like a photo album. Veratrum album. It's white hellebore. Now, don't we just love our toxins? Don't we love the medicines that are so powerful in the toxic gross form? They are equally as powerful when potentized, when made into a 200C, for example. So let me tell you a little bit more about this medicine. It is very specific for violent diarrhea, not just garden variety. No, this is for the kind of diarrhea that could be even life threatening. I've actually thought about how important this is. I'm sure many homeopaths have. How important this medicine is for children in countries, third world countries, where they can die from diarrhea. This could be an incredible medicine. I'm sure it has been used there. I'm not up on Homeopaths Without Borders. There are many of my colleagues who go to Africa and remote areas of the world, Haiti, etc., to help, especially children, because they can die so readily from diarrhea. Adults can too, but children are more prone. So, Veratrum album. I'm going to read a little bit to you from my Materia Medica, and then I'll get into specifics. Alrighty. This remedy, excuse me, is indicated for loose stools or bouts of violent diarrhea that may be accompanied by vomiting. So, basically, it's everything on the inside wants to be on the outside. So there could be extreme cramping and burning pains. Can be, doesn't have to be. Can be. And stools may be involuntary with gas. Think of the medicine when someone has dysentery. So it can be when you travel, when you go to a foreign country, you're not accustomed to the microorganisms in the water and elsewhere. The doctor's Banerjee use it in a 200 potency. I've always used this in a 200 potency. Well, pretty much. I've used it in a 32 now that I think of it. In conjunction with Cuprum metallicum. Cuprum metallicum 6. And this is what saved me when I was in India and had amoebic dysentery. It was Veratrum album 200 mixed with Cuprum 6. Now, why would we use Cuprum? Let's see if folks know. Why would Cuprum be so complementary to Veratrum album, particularly when we know that Veratrum album is all about diarrhea? Why would Cuprum be the exact use, exact remedy for this use? I'm going to ask you and see if you can figure it out. Okay. Um, in many ways, Veratrum album is similar to Arsenicum album, but Arsenicum album has diarrhea, and but Veratrum album has more of everything, more violence. Yes, thank you. Look at these folks. You bet. Cramps. Absolutely, it's for cramps. Cuprum is for cramping. Cuprum is for spasms. And isn't that exactly what extreme diarrhea is all about? Now, some folks are saying worms and parasites, and it can. But I would say I wouldn't want to jump to that necessarily because we don't know whether or not it's amoebic dysentery. What we do know is what's presenting. So, if it were proven that way, or even if it weren't proven, it's pretty obvious that it has to do with parasites, then certainly. But my gosh, cuprum is great for spasms and for cramping. So the fact that it is Veratrum album 200 mixed with cuprum 6, and when I say mixed with, you can purchase this through OHM if you happen to be a student or a client of mine. If you're not, then no problem. You get you get Veratrum album 200, and you put that into the mouth, and at the same moment you put in the cuprum. Now they're mixed in the mouth simultaneously. It is a Banerjee protocol, and it is one of the best. So the main characteristics of an individual in need of Veratrum album are similar to the symptoms of Helleborus poisoning, of course, right? It includes a pale face, sunken expression, cold sweat, icy cold body, diarrhea, excessive vomiting, and purging. The word purging, my friends, says it all. Purging. This is not just any diarrhea. This is not just, oh, well, I don't feel so well. No, this is, holy cow, I could die from this. That's what it feels like. The more violent the attack of diarrhea and vomiting, it doesn't have to have vomiting, but if it does, you really have a dead ringer. The more indicated this medicine. It is such a fabulous medicine. Now, I will tell you that I was so sick, I literally could not move. No, I mean, I couldn't move. I was so weakened, so exhausted, so sick, so in pain, so nauseous, so vomitous, so diarrhea ish. I simply could not move. And it started to come on my trip actually back from India. And so I was in the airport like this. And my husband actually got a wheelchair for me because I couldn't move. It was just that bad. But it wasn't as severe until I got home. And thank God I was home. When I finally got home, that's when there wasn't any way I could have gone through an airport or even in a wheelchair. So this remedy is suited for a wide range of symptoms from mental problems to cholera-like symptoms. Yes, cholera-like symptoms. I hear somebody asking about that. Typical physical problems that respond to Veratrum include collapse. Yes, that's what diarrhea does. It causes collapse if it's extreme enough. Extreme coldness. I was so cold, nothing could have warmed me up, and I was too sick to get into a bathtub. Blueness, weakness, cold sweat on the forehead, pale face, rapid, feeble pulse. Yes, it can get that extreme. I don't know that my pulse was feeble. Um, it felt rapid. Purging, vomiting with violent retching is common, as are cramps in the extremities. Now, the cramps in the extremities, of course, is now screaming also for cuprum, isn't it? You bet. Veratrum is used for surgical shock. Remember this, my friends. Surgical shock. Should someone have shock after surgery, this is the medicine, not mixed with cuprum, just plain old Veratrum album, and I would use it in a 200 potency. And I get a lot of questions on my blog. Well, what if it's a child? What if it's the elderly? What if it's a middle-aged person? What if it's a menopausal woman? What if it's a pregnant woman? It's the same. Generally speaking, it's the same. Particularly when we use protocols, the protocols are the same. Now, are there circumstances in which you would not use certain medicines during pregnancy or for an infant? Yeah, but they're not that often. It's not that frequent. because these protocols are very specific to the condition. Did you hear me say that? These protocols are specific to the condition, not the personality of the person. That's classical. This is practical. This is Banerjee protocol based. So we use the condition specific. Okay, so surgical shock, dryness of all muscle surfaces. There's melancholy, no kidding, when you're that sick, with a hyperactive mind, and violent mania can also be touched by this medicine. So when someone is suffering from something like this, you look for a cold sweat on the forehead. That's how you know even more. If you're not sure, is this arsenicum album? Is this pulsatilla? Is this nux vomica? Cold sweat, extreme. When it's super extreme, put those all aside and go directly to veratrum album. Okay. So the person needing veratrum album has a thirst for cold water, but vomits it as soon as it's swallowed. Now, that's not unusual. Even though I wrote this in my Materia Medica, it's not unusual to see that. The stomach, as soon as it warms up, something cool can often cause that. All right. And it's better from warm drinks, hot drinks. It's better from eating meat. Now, not at this moment. When we're describing purging, I don't think anyone's thinking about eating meat or even drinking hot drinks, to be honest. But it is something that even afterwards, let's say the worst is over, and you're now starting to see this person is coming around, and you see those kinds of things where they want meat, etc. That is that helps you. It's an indication that the remedy is still continually needed. Like purging for your colonoscopy. I would not call it that. No, well, that is drug induced, and it's done quickly, and it's used quickly. Now, could it be that you could use that if somebody got sick enough from that? Yes, you could use that. You could use veratrum album cuprum for purging for a colonoscopy, not for your colon, not for my colonoscopy. Oh, nay, nay. But it can be used for chronic diarrhea also that isn't violent. No, this is a violent medicine. This is an extreme medicine, generally. Chronic diarrhea, unless it's violent, maybe it's extreme, then you might want to consider that. Could the violent mania be like delirium where the person is violent? It could. Yes, it could. Okay. Is this for cholera too? Yes, ma'am. Or sir. Yes. Is it always mixed with cuprum? No, only when you've got this kind of a situation that I just described. Veratrum album can be used for diarrhea without cuprum, for violent purging and vomiting without cuprum metallicum. But the work it does when you do what the Banerjees figured out tens, maybe 100 years ago. Does cuprum help with menstrual cramps? Mag Fosses help. Yes, cuprum can help with menstrual cramps. Absolutely. Okay, let's check with how often should it be given? Well, the way that I would give this would actually, I'll tell you about what I did. I took one dose, and it was so extreme. One dose did it enough to at least bring me down from a screaming on a scale of 1 to 10, 30 to about a 9. I knew I was onto the right medicine. I fell asleep. I woke up again. It came back again. And so when I woke up and I'm still sick, but not as violent as previous, then by all means, we're going to use it again. So how often? Could be every hour, could be every 15 minutes if it's deathly. If someone is very sick, you use it every 15 minutes until you see improvement for, say, the first hour. And then once you see improvement, you back off. But my guess is if there's anything about the situation that you're dealing with that sounds like what I've just described to you, it would be unlikely for it to be anything that it would take very long. Yes, it could be used for food poisoning. Yes, because I don't know how I got this. I just know that I was in India. I got sick every time I went to India, every single time. lesser or greater degrees of something like this, but I got whooping cough. I got, you name it. It seems like I had it. And it's also the vomiting can be violent. Is it the same for dogs? It's the same for dogs, cats, camels, cows, pigs, chickens, ducks. I did an article. I was published an article in Homeopathy Today I don't know, 20 some years ago. If you look it up, you might find it fairly readily. And I talked about using the Cuprum metallicum for my chickens that had foul cholera. So you could put under my name, Joette Calabrese, Homeopathy Today, I think it was called Foul Cholera was the title of the article. And it would be very helpful to you to understand how I chose Cuprum metallicum. Why do Highlands put an age limit on their products? Because of the FDA. Would you use this for C. diff? If it presented in this way, you bet I would. How would you distinguish between giving veratrum and cuprum and podophyllum? The violence. It's the purging. Podophyllum is for diarrhea. Veratrum album, especially with cuprum, is for extreme situation. Okay. That's right. It's the same if it were a dog. Use veratrum album cuprum. Met on my sister 1 week ago when she was awfully sick with, good job, voluminous diarrhea for 24 hours. We think it was a virus or could have been food poisoning. She didn't have vomiting. I gave podophyllum as well 5 minutes later, as I wasn't sure. Let's see, it's scrolling up. Let me see if I can catch this. 5 minutes later, wasn't sure which to give, so gave both. Lots separately. She was on way to the hospital as she was so dehydrated, was giving China also. Good choices. China is also very good for dehydration. Collapse, like a vasovagal reaction. Kind of, but vasovagal reactions are more, it's pretty clear to me, it doesn't seem as though it's collapse from loss of fluids and the body purging and working so hard. So it's obviously it's a different cause. I think that you would see a difference. I think it would be different. Collapse is because of the violent purging. All right, just read this in antibiotic alternative course today. Yes, yeah, good. I'm glad you're reading that course. Learn that is that antibiotic alternative course that I put out there. It's an on course, folks. If you've ever wondered what to use for infections, it's a good remedy. It's good course to consider taking. All right. All right, let me just take a sip of my tea. Yes, worked miraculously for our daughter when she was young, probably about 2. Explosive diarrhea and then total exhaustion. Yeah. Exhaustion can come from diarrhea in general. And so arsenicum album can also have that effect. All right. Let's just see. Is it Cooper or Cuprum? Cuprum. 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 If you don't know the word that I'm saying, by all means, crack open your Materia Medica, whether it's mine or someone else's, and get started on, the letter that you think I'm starting out with. All righty. Those are Facebook Live. Let's see what my mighties have to say. Would you be administering every 15 to 30 minutes while acute? Yes, absolutely. Lately, there seems to be a lot of people who, after being sick for a few days, then have relentless watery diarrhea for many days, more than 5. Have you seen this? Is it also cuprum helpful? Only if the diarrhea is the way I've described it. It's the only way that I would consider using this. You would not use veratrum album, especially with 200 potency, cuprum 6, unless it was real purging. The sensation of violent diarrhea and how it happens when prepping for colonoscopy. Yeah, it could be like that. Yes. Is cuprum always used with veratrum album for diarrhea? No, it isn't always used. In fact, if you ask any other homeopath, they won't know anything about this. The reason I know about this is because I spent 8 years in India working with the Banerjees. They're the only ones I know who use these two combined. That's why I teach this, because no one else does. All homeopaths understand the value of veratrum album in diarrhea, especially extreme diarrhea. All homeopaths know the value of using cuprum metallicum for diarrhea and many other issues. They know their medicines. There's no doubt about it. Homeopaths know their medicines, but they don't know this combination. And this combination is stellar. It's brilliant. And so let's take what the Banerjees were in their largesse were willing to share with me and then allow me to share with you. Okay, I used it successfully with one of my children who had GI symptoms during COVID, but we didn't know it was COVID at the time. She had vomiting with diarrhea, and her toes were cold, pale, purple, and her nose was icy cold. And she had the shakes, one dose. And about 30 minutes later, she asked to eat. Gorgeous. Nice job. Thank you for sharing that, Bam. It's beautiful. Where someone loses weight, loves chronic diarrhea. No, it has to be pretty extreme to use these medicines. I mean, does it mean that you're going to do harm if you use them and it's not extreme? No, no. It just means that you want to choose these medicines as with real editing in mind. Like when an artist is painting, the artist steps back and looks to see whether or not there's enough of the black or too much red or not enough of that light purple to show the shading on the side of the face. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for specific medicines, specific potencies, specific frequencies, and have the exact recipe so that we're not just throwing everything at it. I'm not telling you you don't want to take advantage of these medicines if you don't know what to do. I don't see any disadvantage in throwing some medicines at someone if you don't know what to do. By all means, if somebody's suffering horribly when it comes, especially when it's an acute. Now, if it's a chronic, that's different. But when it's an acute, your cat gets hit by a car, do you then say, oh, gee, I don't know. Is it arnica? Is it aconitum? Is it cuprum? Because cuprum's a great medicine also for head injuries. What should I give? Look, if you don't know what to do and the cat is suffering horribly, by all means, use them. Use them all. It's when you use too many during a chronic situation that it becomes sloppy. So do what you need to do. Robin Murphy mentions that schizophrenia, manic depression, and seizures. Well, cuprum most definitely is for seizures. There's no doubt about that. And these medicines, yes, you can use these medicines for chronic situations as well. And those are obviously schizophrenia and manic depression are chronic. And of course, seizures are more often chronic as well. This stuff does work on pets. Yes. Facebook Live about stramonium for moms who have a problem with hitting too much. I gave it to my cat who has a serious aggressive hitting problem. One dose, and he keeps his paws to himself. You bet, Melissa. Excellent. As you know what? I just thought about that. My son, actually all three sons, lived together at one point, and they have a cat, and now only one son is taking care of the cat now. And I've talked about this cat. He's a jerk. I mean it. This cat's a jerk. He's nobody likes him. My son loves him, but I don't like him. He attacks women. Used to attack my sweet old mother. He attacks me. He's terrible. He's got a terrible personality. And they've never asked me what they should give him. And I actually have thought of Nux vomica because he takes his job too seriously, but I actually think stramonium might be a better choice. Isn't veratrum cuprum used as a protocol for chronic diarrhea and good gut bacteria? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I don't want to talk that is only if it is severe. So, and I really don't want to talk too much about chronic here because I want to stay with this idea of extremes. Okay. And Francine, I also use veratrum 30 as that's all I had. Yes. I mean, listen, you know my saying, use what you've got until you can get what you need, but do get these medicines. Own veratrum album in a 200. Very blessed that you are willing to share your knowledge. Yes. Thank you very much, Jane. Okay. Took veratrum when so sick with nausea and vomiting, could not get off the bathroom floor alone. It worked well with one dose. Also fell asleep with that dose, took more when I woke. Yes. Yes. And you take it until you're done, until you can say, oh my gosh, I think I'm done. Sounds like when there's Giardia. Yeah, it could be Giardia. Absolutely. Yeah. It's mentioned in the survivalist book. Yep. In a 30. Yes, you can use it in a 30. It's potency. See, absolutely. And I spent 1 to 2 days using arsenicum and mix and Nux without much marked improvement for GI issues. And when things shifted for the worse, I recommended what Joette had recently wrote about veratrum album, and it worked because I looked up the symptoms in Materia Medica, and it was a match. You bet. Nice job. Like your cut, use what you have. Yes. Yeah. Use what you, yes, like your finger cut, use what you have until you get what you need. Yeah. I don't have bandages. So here. All righty. Let's see. I'll go to Facebook and then we will call it a night. We call our cat Stanley the Horrible. Why does classical tell you to use more 30 potency and stay away from 200C unless you are a homeopath? Because you don't know what to use for a specific condition. You see, the difference is I tell you, here's the condition, here's the remedy, here's the potency, here's the frequency. It's all figured out for you. With classical, you don't know what remedy for a condition. You're going based on the person's personality and just symptoms. So you don't know you don't know the remedy. Let's say you figure out what the remedy is, okay? Now what's the potency? There's no potency. You got to figure that out yourself. Now what frequency? You got to figure that out yourself too. That is the problem with classical. But I'm giving you the formula. So we don't use those rules of we don't use 200 potency. It's no, use the formula. And as long as you choose the medicine based on the correct condition, if someone misunderstood this tonight and only caught a little bit and said, so veratrum album and cuprum are used for headaches. Okay, I'll use this for a headache. And it's the wrong condition and the medicine is used, of course it's gonna mess things up. You're going to have a very untidy case. But if you use what is the actual condition, you will have a likely in 80 to 85% of cases, say the Banerjees, for a specific condition, if you use their protocol, in 80 to 85% of the cases, it will resolve. Sounds pretty good to me. 80 to 85%, that's a very, very high percentage, my friends. So if there's a case in which someone has this violent diarrhea and they use the cuprum metallicum mixed with veratrum album and they don't see a benefit, we don't say, oh, well, that's the end of homeopathy. No, we go to the next protocol possibility. So gorgeous. So lovely. All right. I think we call it a wrap. I'm running a little late. I've got a class I'm going. If you've never taken a gateway, join a gateway study group, folks, especially for those of you who are new, but even those who are not new, even those who've been seasoned in homeopathy, you will learn so much. And especially it's such a lovely thing to join in with other folks from all over the world in a study group. So do consider Gateway to Homeopathy. If you don't know how to join or don't know what to do, contact my office. Eileen is there to help folks. All righty. Wonderful. Great to see you all. Mwah. God bless you all. See you next week. Bye now.